Aside from the trip, I'd like to confirm a quote.
Getting to where I'm at in 2 hours.
Will you clarify for me how much money was involved? Was it over $1,000? Was it over $10,000?
Somebody's come up.
I know. Hedley Franklin. Here's his file.
No secrets in a newsroom. When's the last time he updated his obituary?
2 years ago. Only next to kin are 2 ex-wives, no known addresses.
When you think of the stories he covered, and the things he knew, and the people he affected, it doesn't boil down to much, does it? See if someone can find out what happened down there.
Rossi's already working on it.
Rossi?
Said he'd been studying Spanish for 2 years.
And how come he has trouble ordering a taco?
No. Un momento. ¿Cuándo se fijó usted que... Died? What's died?
Murió.
Se murió en el hospital. Hold it. Slower. They say he died at the hospital. Or he was dead when he got to the hospital.
Which is it?
I'm not sure. I have trouble with past participles.
Now, let me try, Rossi. Diplomacy goes a long way in that part of the world.
I can do it. Quiero hablar con el doctor y con el que manda. Oh. Excuse me.
Bueno, ¿con quién hablo? Ah, sí, doctor. ¿Me puede decir usted lo que sucedió? Sí.
What is it?
They thought it was fine. They went back to check, and Franklin was dead.
He was left alone?
Dígame, doctor, ¿por qué lo dejaron solo, sin cuidado? Pero ¿cómo que no fue culpa suya? Entonces, ¿de quién fue?
The diplomat.
He says Franklin shouldn't have died.
Then why did he?
¿Cómo que fue accidente? Oh, one of the respirators, the respirator broke down. ¿Y qué no pueden conseguir aparatos que funcionen? It was one of our respirators.
We don't have any respirators.
Made in America. ¿Quién? Upsilon Laboratories.
Ask him when they bought the machine.
I can't.
Why not?
Hung up.
What have we learned about Upsilon Laboratories?
They're based in L.A. We've got people working on it.
Our lawyers will investigate the possibility of a wrongful death lawsuit. If anything, the fact that Mr. Franklin has no known relatives, I think, heightens our responsibility to him.
Yeah, well, you'll have information just as soon as we do.
Well, I hope it's sooner rather than later. Do we have anyone on our staff who would be a good replacement for Mr. Franklin? I mean, temporarily.
They're already jockeying for his job, Rossi for one.
Figures.
And Castillo, there'll be more.
I lean toward Castillo.
Oh, yes. Fluency in Spanish is a must.
In Rossi's defense, he has been taking lessons.
How's he doing?
Well, so far he can say, is this a train to Caracas? And there's a mistake in my hotel bill.
Well, who would need more than that?
You know, it's possible that we may have to go outside for a correspondent.
Of course, you realize that I would prefer to promote from within.
Oh, yeah. We'll work on it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Oh, I forgot something. I have news. You may recall discussing a plan to have guest columnists work at the Tribune.
Yeah. Great idea. Get a fresh perspective of L.A. I thought the budget couldn't handle it.
It can't. But we have done some creative bookkeeping.
Oh, yeah?
Sidney Kovac will arrive tonight and start work first thing tomorrow.
Sidney Kovac. We started in newspapers together.
His last book got a six-figure advance. He must have cost a fortune.
He did. But he said the only reason he would come was for the chance to work with you again, Mr. Grant.
I'll bet.
Hey, that's terrific, Lou. I had no idea you and Kovac were tight.
Well, neither one of us tend to brag about it.
I'll call when he arrives. I imagine you'll want to have a little get-together or something.
Something troubling you, Lou?
Well, I guess I'm sort of happy and depressed at the same time. I'm happy because Kovac is a buddy from way back. It's nice to see an old pal do well.
Well, then why are you depressed?
Because I can't stand to see an old pal do that well.
This led to our line of test equipment, enabling Upsilon Laboratories to grow from the small mom-and-pop organization to the multinational industry you see today.
Are Mom and Pop still around?
Pop is. Mom divorced him, but keeps in close touch with the company. Through her lawyer. Though I don't think that's part of your story.
No. What I'm interested in today is the area of research and development.
Ask away.
I imagine that you've had your share of disappointments in that area.
Well, every company does.
Such as the Model 4 portable respirator, for example.
That has had its problems.
What kind of problems?
Well, nothing we felt we couldn't fix, but it was forced off the market before we had a chance.
At a considerable cost.
Millions. R&D. Years of testing. Millions. Don't ask. We had to recall every unit in the United States. Something wrong?
I saw a report that said that respirator is still in use overseas. They were said to be unreliable.
Well, if they're unreliable, chances are that they're worn out or they weren't serviced properly. But all that's in the past. Here's an item you can have exclusive. It's a real breakthrough in the monitoring of vital signs. In 2 years, I bet every paramedic in the country is using it.
Hey, Lou, come on over here and defend yourself. He's been telling stories about you.
About what?
About the good old days.
The good old days were terrible.
Yeah. You were saying something about Lou and a police car?
Oh, yeah, the police car. Lou is out in the middle of nowhere, and he's on a triple murder. He looks around, and his cab is gone. Right on deadline with no way back. And there's this shiny new cop car, see?
Sidney.
Next thing you know, Lou is racing into town. The siren is screaming, the gumball is flashing. Oh, it was grand.
What happened?
He made deadline with 10 minutes to spare.
I love it.
What happened to Lou?
I spent the weekend in jail because the guy I made my one phone call to wouldn't bail me out. He was too busy hustling my girl.
Consoling, Lou, not hustling, consoling.
You married her. You stabbed me in the back.
We got a divorce. I did you a favor.
Hey, Billy Animal, I want you to meet Sidney Kovac. Billy Newman, Dennis Price.
Oh, yeah, I took your picture here last year when you were on your book tour.
I remember that shot. I looked like I was up on a morals chart.
Hey, where are you two been?
Oh, on the respirator story, and he needed a lift.
My mother was in town. I loaned her my car.
You let your own mother drive that old thing?
Sure, I trust her.
What'd you find out about the respirator?
Well, there's supposed to be a national recall. And there might be some units still left in use, but they haven't manufactured any for 3 years.
I told you about Hedley Franklin dying. He might have made it if the respirator hadn't broken down.
Lou, this doesn't add up. I talked to that doctor again. He said they had just bought the unit. New.
Someone's not telling the truth.
You know what I think this is? Dumping.
Dumping?
Yeah, we are dumping our defective products on the rest of the world.
Oh, yes, of course. Something crossed my desk the other day about that.
Like that thing with the fire retardant pajamas. The federal government banned them. Said the retardant was a known carcinogen. And presto, the American public is saved and millions of foreign kids are wearing cancer-causing but fireproof pajamas.
I think the defective respirator might be the same story.
You know, we've got to be careful here. I mean, we've only been talking about exports that are known to be harmful. We don't want to do a hatchet job on American trade.
I think it's worth pursuing.
I'd like to help if I can. I have contacts all over the world.
I'll bet you do.
So do we.
Well, I just thought I'd save you a lot of time. Anyway, that's what I'm here for, isn't it?
You know anybody in Central America?
I have a number of contacts there, but I wouldn't want to step on Lou's toes.
I don't mind. Let's pull a string and see what it unravels.
Great.
I think it's a hell of a story, Lou, and one that needs to be told. Like my series on military graft. This is going to be fun. It's great being on the same team again, Lou.
Yeah.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Frankly, gentlemen, I'm leery about the cost of the kind of international investigation you gentlemen are talking about.
It'll put the Trib on the map.
Sydney, the Tribune is on the map already. You had no trouble finding us, did you?
Okay, so, we're not the New York Times. We do have our own resources, so let's use them. We don't have to go outside.
Can you be more specific, Mr. Grant?
Well, we all have our connections, if you think about it. Right up to cabinet level in some cases. Charlie's covered Latin America for about 5 years, I think. Frank's been about everywhere.
Twice.
And Adam?
I know a lot of guys in big multinationals. I'll give it a go.
Art?
I know a nurse in Norway. Will that help?
We get your point, Lou. Among the people at the Tribune, we must have 100 overseas contacts.
I have 98 alone.
Oh.
First name? Is it yesterday or tomorrow? I always get that screwed up. Yeah. Hold on a second. Wait. Are you going to be home tonight?
If I can make it through this day, I'll be home with my feet up.
Like David.
All right.
Well, I want to talk to you about the time you spent in Africa. I just want to pick your brain.
You can have what's left of it.
Well, I'm in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Where's that story on rezoning of high-rises in the valley?
Well, he said she'd have it by tonight.
Tonight, meeting ended 3 hours ago. Billy?
Hi, Walter. Adam Wilson.
Do you have a doctor yet I'd like to talk to you about this? What's this one?
What's up, Charlie?
Telephone stock, judging from these phone charges. We should change the slogan next to our logo. Instead of a free society needs a free press, it should be reach out and touch someone.
Everyone's got leads on this dumping story.
Lou, Rossi has been on the phone to Sydney, Australia for half an hour. And the operator said that somebody called Karachi. Do you have to go as far as Karachi to get the story? I mean, they must be dumping someplace closer to home.
We've got to follow the leads wherever they take us, Charlie.
I think it was Mrs. Pinchon who called Karachi. She called me to get the area code.
Karachi has an area code?
Donovan, what time is it in Rome?
Rome? You were talking to Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, but the guy gave me a lead in Rome.
You see, Charlie? It's the same as Berlin, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, I know that, but is it AM or PM?
PM.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We're going to have a phone bill like we had when my daughter lived at home.
It's beautiful.
You ever notice how much this primitive African art looks like stuff we used to call modern?
Some of those native villages were like museums. Sounds like you're ready to go back. Too many other places to see. When I save enough, I'm going to China.
Well, there's a good layout artist.
Scissors and paste. Scissors and paste. 16 years of school and look at me.
You said something about work with pesticides?
Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay. Now, where I was in the Peace Corps, they had huge supplies of some stuff called balamine.
Balamine. You know what makes it?
No, but it shouldn't be too tough to track down. It does a hell of a job against flying bugs. It should. You should see what it does to people. It's a lethal contact poison.
And this stuff is just handed out?
Yeah, to anyone who asked. I saw families use empty Balamine buckets to hold drinking water. About a dozen people died from the stuff that year. I guess they got in the food chain. Who knows? People could still be dying from it.
Didn't it come with warnings on the labels?
Sure, but no language that natives could read.
But their officials must have known.
Their officials often got paid a lot of money to look the other way. Say, why do you guys care about this? I mean, it happened 2 years ago in a dinky little village halfway around the world.
Maybe I could get people to care.
Yeah, I used to think that.
I found that Balamine stuff that Rossi asked me for. It's made here in L.A. by an outfit called Claver Chemical. Here, I have their annual report.
Thanks.
You read annual reports?
Not if I can ask someone to tell me what they mean. What does this mean?
Sometimes I think a general assignment reporter is one who's equally ignorant in all fields.
Yeah, but we're great at cocktail parties. Come on.
All right. The yearly comparison shows that Claver made a killing in Balamine until it was recalled in the United States. Last year, they produced 100,000 barrels. They had to recall everything they sold in the United States, and that amounted to 50,000 barrels.
Oh, I wonder what happened to the other 50,000.
Good question. Back here is another interesting little item. Claver is building overseas plants to meet growing demand of the third world.
Bingo?
Bingo.
I'm not sure we have a story here. Implications, sure. A few facts, yeah. But where's the proof?
It's in here, Lou. Trust me.
Our most promising lead is Claver Chemical.
Yeah, I know it's promising, but...
I agree with Billy. I think we should go after Claver. They're local. We should be able to get to them.
What about the respirators from Upsilon Laboratories?
I think we've done what we can with them for now. Rossi, maybe you should go over to Claver. Nose around a little bit.
Wait a minute.
Excuse me, Lou. Billy, if I were you, I'd bone up on pesticides, especially Balamine. Find out everything you can.
Hold it. Is this the best way into the story, just the best way we've got?
Lou, we know what the story is and what the outcome will be. The trick is to nail down the research so that we can confirm what we've suspected all along.
I think research should back up a story, not vice versa.
It will, Lou. Don't worry.
Sidney, what about lunch? We can meet the crowd.
Some other time, Lou. My book editor's in town. I promised him lunch at the Biltmore. Gotta run. I'll see you two.
You know, Lou, I talked to 2 reporters who uncovered thumping scams their own papers wouldn't print. I'm betting ours won't either.
They're gonna win that bet unless we get the story right.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Not your usual family portraits.
Oh, but they are. We're all in the same family of man.
These are great pictures. But how do they relate to a chemical company?
Well, we're interested in seeing what we can do about starvation. When you look into the eyes of a starving man, it makes you realize how much there is to be done. Now, what would you like to know about Claver Chemical?
I'm finished here. I'll see you back at the office.
Sorry you have to leave.
Big story breaking in Westwood. A bunch of third graders have put together the world's longest submarine sandwich, and my editor thinks the people of L.A. have a right to know.
We're doing a series on companies with successful overseas operations.
We'd be more successful with less interference.
From?
Well, the usual sources. Federal controls, state controls, export controls, environmental controls. Every industry has similar complaints, though we feel helping to grow food is more basic.
And all these controls give you guys a lot of headaches?
We spend years developing a product, say, a pesticide.
Like Balamine?
Right, like Balamine. To protect crops and grow more food on less land. Then someone discovers that it kills rats and threatens pelican eggs, and we can't use it.
And all that research is wasted?
Well, yes and no. If we're lucky, we can export it to countries who desperately need our technology, but our own people can't benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rossi, our pesticides are supposed to kill rats, and I, for one, don't give a damn about pelicans. I care about people.
Is there always a trade-off?
Sometimes. A lot of times there has to be. I find the people who complain the loudest about pesticides are generally well-fed themselves.
But there's always export, right?
It's not as easy as it sounds. You wouldn't believe what we have to go through just to get our products to people who desperately need them.
Fortunately for them, all your plants aren't here in this country.
That's true.
Yeah. So you make stuff there that you can't make here because of these government regulations.
Exactly.
You know, I've heard that your company has to route products to a second country to get it to a third, which I can't believe because of the cost.
Oh, yes, it certainly is costly. But what else can we do?
This high-rise rezoning thing in the valley is a good story. How'd they get that through? I thought there was a big citizen protest.
Well, the councilman probably stayed in bed the day they voted.
Where's Billy's update?
She hasn't turned it in yet.
What's she been doing? Did you send Rossi on that Marina kickback scam?
I haven't seen him, so I sent Rosenthal.
Hello.
Hi.
Sydney, we've got terrific stuff. Some guy at Claver Chemical makes selling poison sound noble.
Poison is right. The guy who tested Balamine for the government said it's some of the most lethal stuff they've ever seen.
How lethal?
If it were any stronger, we'd need a special permit just to talk about it.
Great. Come on, we'll use Lou's office.
It's no wonder Balamine was banned. It never breaks down. It just recycles through the entire food chain.
Nice work. Very nice. We're almost ready. Hi, Lou. We just borrowed your office. Do you need it back?
Well, I need my reporters back. Billy, where's the high-rise zoning update?
It's ready to write. I just have
Good, then write it. Rossi, where were you? We needed you.
I'm sorry, Laura's doing an interview on dumping.
Okay, I'll fix it so you don't have any assignment conflicts in the future.
Thanks, Lou. I knew
From
you'd
now on, you're both off dumping. You can cover it when I don't need you, but right now we needed you. And pass the word to Castillo and Adam. This goes for them, too, and anyone else you've roped into this thing.
Look, Lou, we're really close on this. We're getting close. Now, can't you put your personal feelings aside for a while and let us finish?
What do you mean, personal feelings?
You're just mad because your reporters are responding more to me than they are to you.
No, I'm not.
Oh, come on, Lou. Let's not let our egos get in the way of the biggest story this paper's had all year.
Who's talking about egos?
Bear with us, Lou. We know what we're doing.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
It's perfect, Rube. This is the kind of story you like. A guy wanders into an all-night market, puts a boa constrictor on the counter, and tries a holdup. The snake was only a foot long.
I'll get right on it.
Seem a little chilly in here to you?
Like a meat locker.
Mm-hmm. Adam, nice inflation piece on people trying to buy their first home. Good human interest stuff. We can use it, page 1. Can you trim 2 books out of it?
Well, you're the city editor, Lou. Why don't you do it?
City desk. Okay, hold a minute. Rossi, Driscoll has a few graphs to dictate. Line 3, okay? Even Rossi won't talk to me.
There are positive sides to the silent treatment.
It'll all blow over.
That's what Edward III said when he claimed the French crown in 1337. It led to the 100 Years' War.
Who won?
No one.
She's trying to
Corner a couple of councilmen on the rezoning story.
What I like most about this business, the camaraderie.
Lou, can I see you for a moment? So how's it going?
Huh?
How's it going?
Oh, just like always.
Yeah, I seen the budget.
Yeah?
It's good stories in the works.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you how to do your job. You're the city editor.
I'm glad someone noticed.
But don't you think that cutting back on the dumping story was just a teensy bit...
What, Charlie? Teensy bit what?
You know, dumb.
Our first responsibility is to cover news. Breaking news. And as for dumping, the story was my idea originally, which everyone has conveniently forgotten.
Is that what's eating you? Lack of recognition?
You know better than that.
I can see how you were depressed to hear that Kovac was coming. It's no fun getting upstaged by your old buddy.
You got it wrong, Charlie. I just don't like to see part of my staff neglect their regular duties to chase an iffy story.
Okay, final decision is yours. But maybe you ought to rethink your position on dumping. After all, it was your idea to begin with.
Yeah. I'll think about it.
Oh, I want you to meet. Good afternoon, Mr. Grant.
Oh. Hi, Mrs. Pinchon.
This is Mr. Hollingsworth of the State Department. He has very kindly brought an African delegation studying Western-style communications to our Tribune.
Ah.
They might be interested in our story on international trade. Mr. Grant is our city editor, but he's handling this story personally.
No, I'm sure it would be fascinating.
Why would a city editor cover international trade?
Well, perhaps Mr. Grant is an expert, sir.
It's a very intriguing story. I'll leave you to explain it, Mr. Grant. I'll see you before you leave.
Thank you, Mr.
Rossi, come here a minute.
Yes, and you know this to be true about the pesticides.
They were banned in this country because of the danger.
We were not informed. According to regulations, the State Department has to warn your governments about such toxic exports.
And the State Department is very conscientious in doing just that.
We were not informed. The people were not informed. Absolutely. In the West, you have so much access to information. But where we live, news is restricted.
See, it doesn't make either nation look very good when products that can injure, maim, and even kill are sold to unsuspecting peoples for profit.
We call it dumping.
Oh, now, that's a rather harsh term. You see, the situation in many nations is different than our own. Some of these products are very helpful, beneficial. And to say dumping...
It is a very good term. It is accurate. I wonder... I worked in a clinic for 2 years. We may have distributed some of these products.
What kind of products?
For birth control, IUDs. Have you ever heard of a device called ProShield?
No, it isn't in my research.
This is wonderful. We thought that we would be bored with a ceremonial tour of news service offices and printing presses. But now, thanks to Mr. Hollingsworth, our trip has been far more successful than we could have ever dared hope.
ProShield was distributed in many countries. We had much trouble. They were shipped unsterilized and without adequate instruction. They were very hard to insert properly, and some of the women who used them had problems.
What kind of problems?
Internal bleeding, infections. Some needed surgery. Some even died.
We're not the only nation exporting goods to the third world. And often the problem is with untrained local people. How a certain number of deaths could be expected.
One of the women who died was my sister. And she died in a hospital that is very modern, even by your standards. And her death was most unexpected.
Could you describe the ProShield?
Here, I will draw it for you. It has a very odd design.
Hi.
How'd it go?
Well, we got some terrific leads.
Great. Don't know when we'll have time to follow up on them, though.
Yeah, I got a whole stack of assignments to get through.
Okay. Look, Truce, I want you working on the dumping story, but there has to be give and take. Work on it as long as it doesn't interfere with the other stories.
And?
And I'll protect you from the nickel and dime stuff. Deal?
Quick, before he changes his mind.
I never saw your family before. Is your husband a doctor, too?
Oh, no, he's a lawyer. You should see the reaction we get when we're introduced as Mr. and Dr. Pratt. What can I do for you?
All I need today is information.
Shoot.
What can you tell me about the Pro Shield? It's an IUD. I've heard it can be very harmful.
Pro Shield. Oh, I've never heard of it.
That's it? You sure?
Is it new?
According to my information, it's been on the market for years.
Oh, no. No, I'd have heard of it. You don't know medical salesmen. They leave so many samples, some days this joint looks like a bootleg birth control clinic.
Wait a minute. I think I've got a drawing of it. Here.
Oh, I don't know about Pro Shield, but that looks like a beta coil to me.
A what?
Beta coil. Very big scandal. Lots of lawsuits pending. Had to pull it off the market. Of course, that didn't help the women who used them. You want to see one?
Sure.
I have no use for the damn things. In fact, I have no use for anything from Upsilon Laboratories.
Miss Newman, it's always a pleasure. Is there something you forgot to ask? I look forward to reading your story.
Something came up that I just wanted some additional background on.
Whatever I can do.
What can you tell me about the Pro Shield IUD? Or would you be more comfortable discussing the beta coil?
I can't discuss either without our attorneys present.
I see. I'm not interested in the lawsuits. Can you tell me a little bit about the Pro Shield?
Pro Shield is not really relevant to the litigation. It's the export version of Beta Coil. It's never been offered for sale in this country.
Why isn't it for sale in this country? Why has it been taken off the market? Is it because it's harmful? Is that the basis of the lawsuit?
I can't comment on that.
Is it true that there have been objections to Beta Coil because they've been distributed unsterilized?
What you must realize, Miss Newman, is that population control is not a matter of choice in many nations. It's a matter of survival.
I see.
Look, we're dealing with the third world, literally a different world. Now, in this country, a few problems connected with defective IUDs seem unacceptable. But to a desperately impoverished nation, those occasional problems are a small price to pay when you're dealing with an out-of-control birth rate.
When you say a small price to pay, does that mean that women have died using the Beta Coil?
I didn't say that.
But can it be said that you're dumping unsafe products overseas that you've been forbidden to sell in this country?
Upsilon Laboratories has never been in the habit of dumping defective IUDs, as you so indelicately put it. Those units were sold legitimately.
Who bought them?
The United States government.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Miss Newman, Mr. Rossi, pleasure to see you again. Come in, please. Now, how can I be of service?
Well, it's a bit complicated.
Well, it can't be all that complicated. Tell me what you need.
We'd like a list of U.S. exports to third world nations. We're especially interested in pesticides, birth control pills and devices, drugs and fertilizers.
No, that would fill volumes.
We like to read.
We'll simplify it. We're only interested in exported goods that were found unsafe for use in the United States.
This is a sensitive issue. A negative article could severely damage our efforts to encourage exports.
This isn't a general indictment of exports. We're investigating specific items here.
You're forgetting that third world nations need our help, our technology. They want it.
Okay, but we're not talking about tractors here. If we distribute unsafe products, then the people who use them have a right to know.
Could you provide us with a list of those products?
I don't have that information.
You don't have it, or you won't give it to us?
I don't have it. And I'm sure it'll take time to assemble it. Some of these questions really deal with national security.
I think I just heard a door shut.
And a key turn.
Look, Lou, you've seen what we have. I think we're ready to write.
We know we're on safe ground.
I agree. We can research this to death, of course. Some people like to do that.
It's not enough. I'm sorry, but there's something missing. This whole area of alleged government complicity. You haven't proven that yet.
The State Department's stonewalling us.
Make them give it to you. You need the export figures to nail down the story. We don't know how big it really is.
Lou, they won't cooperate. Now, we're asking them to cut their own throat. I checked. The State Department is supposed to warn other governments about products banned in this country.
You can get what you want from the State Department if you file under the Freedom of Information Act.
Oh, geez, that'll take weeks.
Then it'll take weeks, but at least you'll be accurate. And if you pressure them the way you're pressuring me, they'll give you what you want just to get rid of you. And to show you that I really do want the story, I'm taking you off everything else for 5 days, but only for 5 days. Then you go back on general assignment, whether you get the material or not.
Okay, okay. Lou, can we talk?
Sure. My office. What do you want to talk about?
About the way you're handling your reporters.
Yeah?
Lou, we've been friends a long time. I want to give you some advice.
You're wrong, Sidney.
About what?
We haven't been friends a long time. We've known each other a long time. There's a difference. Let me remind you that you're here as a guest columnist, not an editor.
Okay, let's put personal differences aside. What I'm worried about is we're going to get beat on this story. We know there are other reporters working on dumping.
That's not what I heard. I heard the other papers weren't interested. You can't have it both ways.
We can't be sure about that. Let's talk tactics. Why don't we go with what we have, give it our best shot, and see who gets nervous? It worked pretty well in Watergate.
I don't like piecemeal news. Rushing into print, you risk scaring off potential sources.
You know, Lou, I remember when you were a pretty aggressive reporter. What the hell happened to you?
I remember when you were satisfied to report the news, not try to make it. What the hell happened to you?
Why did you come to me?
Because of your reputation. Everyone I checked with felt that your company was always above board. Can you help us, Dr. Prentice?
Let's take a walk. The facts you have seem accurate enough, as far as they go. But you paint a bleak picture of American business.
It's a bleak story.
Granted. While the numbers involved in dumping are impressive, they represent only a fraction of the firms who export.
But the numbers are impressive. We just can't ignore them.
Of course not. Tell me, why do you think these firms engage in dumping?
Greed, I suppose.
To an extent, I'm sure. But most of them, I'd say 80% of them, dump because our government's too lax. Because they can get away with it. If the loopholes were straightened, if it were against the law to export unsafe goods, we'd eliminate most of the problems.
Just that simple, huh? Just like that?
Closing these loopholes isn't simple when we have a $25 billion a year trade deficit. Special interests down in Washington will skin you alive before you ever reach the Hill.
Let me ask you something. Did you ever consider dumping when you were chairman of Prentice Industries?
We didn't do business that way. We once developed an IUD, for example. After years of testing, problems appeared.
So you took it off the market?
It was never on the market because it didn't come up to our standards. And still, the Agency for International Development invited us to make bids to supply the devices to emerging nations.
But you didn't do it. Why not?
Because it would have harmed people. That's not so unusual. Other companies have refused to ship advanced mechanical equipment, not because of defects,
but because the nations involved could not muster the skilled manpower and the facilities to maintain it.
But that's not really the company's responsibility, though.
Ah, but it is. I believe that any product stamped made in USA should symbolize quality. Dumping's not right. Makes us look bad. I don't believe we should destroy our relationship with any people for some short-term dollars.
Hold it. That's good. That's really good.
You want to see me, Charlie?
Yeah. See this yet?
Nah, mine always comes late.
Take a look. Sidney Kovac has scooped us on our own story.
What?
Apparently, he forgot to tell us that while he was with us, he was also guest columning with the National magazine.
He's as expensive as a call girl and not quite as loyal. Boy, oh boy.
You have to admire his timing, though. Our series doesn't start until Sunday.
I love this down in the third paragraph. A tip from several Los Angeles reporters piqued my interest. A tip. I wonder how Billy and Rossi are going to like the way he gave them credit.
You want to tell him?
No. I'll get no real joy out of that.
Newman, this stuff is so good, I can't stand it. Did you get that State Department memo in there?
Oh, not yet, but I got a home for it.
That's nice. That's really nice.
Oh, hi, Charlie.
That's a good story.
You see what I'm working on.
So you got the State Department stuff?
Under the Freedom of Information Act. I didn't think we'd get it this fast. We were on the phone for hours.
So is Mrs. Pinchon.
Oh?
Yeah, I heard Lou mention what you needed to her. I guess she called in a few markers of her own.
No kidding. This story's worth it, though.
It would be if it were exclusive.
What do you mean?
The nerve of that man.
Do you have any second thoughts now about our going forward with our dumping series?
No, of course not. I've read this very carefully. It's important, it's thorough, and I would venture to say it's totally accurate, which is something I'm not sure we can say for Mr. Kovac. After what Mr. Castillo wrote about the residue of pesticides on coffee beans, I'm not going to drink that stuff anymore.
Well, we knew that toxic pesticides were being exported, so it was just a matter of legwork on Castillo's part to see if countries involved were shipping food back to the U.S.
The boomerang effect.
By dumping our problems on someone else, we simply poisoned ourselves. Incidentally, I'm going to have copies made of this to send along with our proposed solutions to some of my friends in Washington. And as for Mr. Kovac...
His time with us is up. He's leaving today.
Do you suppose he could make that before lunch?
Hello. I don't think I'll be using this again after the VGTs. You can really do some swell things on them. Well, goodbye, Charlie.
Goodbye, Sidney.
It's been nice being here, Charlie. It's been interesting.
Yeah, hasn't it?
What was that all about?
He may be a little sore at you.
Lou, I think you know why I wrote that column. I was afraid you were going to sit on the story so long it wouldn't get out. It's too important a story not to be told.
You mean it's too important a story not to be stolen, don't you, Sidney?
I just finished reading the Trib's own series on it. The kids did a terrific job. By the way, if it wins any award, any cash award...
You want me to put your share to a little blowout for the staff?
Gee, I was going to give you an address where to send the money.
Where would that be, Sidney?
I'm heading for Chicago. Special assignment.
Where? Sun-Times?
Yeah.
I think I'll call ahead and tell them to lock up their petty cash.
While you were out, there were 3 people who wanted to see you.
What do they look like?
2 guys and a girl, about this high, very red faces.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. You did a hell of a job. Mrs. Pinchon sends her compliments. She'll probably call you herself later.
Thanks. Aren't you going home?
Later. Why? What's up?
Well, we figured a great series and all is worth celebrating.
You have reason to celebrate.
Not if you don't come with us.
Sure, why not? What do you have in mind?
Yeah, we'll have a belt, some thick steaks.
Sound good?
Yeah.
You buying?
You invited me, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I got a better idea. I think we'll send the bill to Sydney. I figure he owes us.
His knack for self-promotion made him a worldwide legend. Let's meet master escape artist Harry Houdini tonight on Biography.
And now, is a surgeon using his skill to kill?
Columbo checks into a suspicious bedside manner next on A&E.